Welcome to the SOB radio show, where we have fun, interesting guests, and hot topics. Each week, we offer insights into music, fashion, health, fitness, and humor. Do you have the perfect guest for us to interview? I want to know. Drop me a line on our Facebook page at Spunky Old Broad 1 or reach out to me on our website at spunkyoldbroad.com. And now, back to the show.
Hi, everybody. We're back with part two of SOB Radio, and my guest is Randi Fine, who is an expert in narcissistic personality disorder. And we've been talking about that for the first part of this show, and I want to change it up for just a little bit. Randi, you also have a Massage Envy franchise, actually two of them, and also a jewelry business on Etsy. So have you always been an entrepreneur, and how much time do these businesses take up as compared to your abuse business?
So I wear a lot of hats. Yes, I do. I work mainly out of home. We have in our Massage Envy businesses, we have a great management team, and I'm partners with my husband, who is he's the operations guy. He used to be a comptroller. I mean, he watches the money and watches every transaction. So he does that. I do a lot of the auxiliary things, and we make all decisions together. So that takes a lot off my plate in that way. I do mostly my work with narcissistic abuse. That takes up quite a bit of time between the counseling and the writing and the interviews that I do, the Blog Talk Radio show and things like that. And the jewelry, I just kind of do on the side. It's a kind of a relaxation thing for me. So, but I get bored very easily. So I like to jump around and do a lot of things. I don't want to just sit and do narcissistic abuse all day. I like to do a lot of things. And by the time the night comes, I relax and I have nothing more to do. So I just kind of balance it, but I work mainly out of home, which is really nice and convenient for me.
Well, I think that's great. I mean, I think that the fact that you have these other outlets kind of balances it out for you, because if the abuse was all you were doing, I would think that, you would personally get burned out on it, even though you're passionate about it and you're trying to lead a movement on it. But still, this other part of your life, I think, gives you some balance, which is so important. But you also, and I think this is amazing because I'm not a true Facebook fan. I have to admit that. You've got 3 very active Facebook pages. What are they, and how do you keep up with those?
Yes, I do. I do have 3 pages. So one is Randi Fine, which is just representing who I am. And that's my brand. Randi Fine is my brand. Everything I do, randifine.com, whatever I do, that's how I brand myself. Then I have Narcissistic Abuse Survivors United. And that is a page where people who are experiencing this kind of abuse, whether they're in the midst of it or have come out of it, I put up all kinds of quotes. I do things that make people go, yeah, that's me. Yes, I relate to that. I also post lots of articles on there, and I have a huge following. They're so hungry for this information because this is not widely known. But let me
I was going to ask you how many followers you have on that.
Oh my gosh, I don't know at this point. Probably like 7,000 or something like that. But I have people following me, every day. There are people who are like religious to that page. And then I have Empath Society, and I mentioned that one of the collateral damage things that happen to those who have been narcissistically abused in childhood is that they become empathically sensitive, which means some people call it the sixth sense, whatever it is, but we're very energetically sensitive. And the reason is when you grow up in an environment that is emotionally unpredictable, you become so heightened, your awareness becomes so heightened to the energy around you that you can almost feel the violence before it's about to happen. You can feel the yelling. You just know it's coming. So you grow up with this extreme energetic sensitivity. It makes it extremely hard for survivors who are, first of all, feeling very isolated because they don't really have anybody to speak to. And people don't understand when they talk about this. But also, when they go out, they're picking up on energies that they don't know what to deal with. So it isolates them even more. So empath society is for those people who have this energetic sensitivity. Some have it to such an extreme that it's painful to be in their skin. So that's the third page that I have. So I'm reaching out to all these different people in various ways. The people who come to my Randi Fine page are those who are just fans of who I am and what I do, and and the others are more specialized. So, and I keep them up. I wish I had a secretary. I really do. Sometimes I get so tired.
Well, you could hire a virtual assistant because they don't they could work with you, and they can work as few or as many hours as you want, and virtual assistants are very well trained, so they can do some of the things that are mundane for you to do, and you can do the things that you're an expert at.
Yes, I think I'm almost there, Gayle. I think I'm almost there because I do all my own correspondence. It's a lot. I do a lot. But you mentioned earlier that I'm 61 years old. For me, this is an exercise in staying young. I want to keep my mind active. I want to be challenged every day. I want to always keep a youthful mind. And so being busy in this way, my children are grown. Being busy in this way is a way that I keep my mind stimulated.
Let me ask you something. What is the relationship that your children have with your mom? Maybe you don't want to discuss that here, but I just am curious if they're responsive to any of this.
Yes, that's a really good question. And I really don't, I'm completely open about all of this. So I don't have a relationship with my parents, but my daughter and I lived with them from the time she was a baby till she was about 2 years old because of one of my crazy relationships, which I talk about in Cliffedge Road. That's the other book, and I didn't really explain it. That's my memoir where I talk about the narcissistic abuse I experienced and how it impacted my life. But there's a lot of beautiful love, and there is a miraculous story that happens. So it's a story of hope to show people who are coming from the trenches how life can truly look. But anyway, back to my kids. My kids are very healthy emotionally. I have instilled in them all the skills that they need to be very successful in life. My son is a surgical resident, second-year surgical resident. He's very bright and very focused. My daughter is a data scientist for New York Life, very bright and very focused. Having put those tools or given them those skills for living, I explain to them what my relationship is, how I feel about what I went through, but I allow them to choose the relationship they want to have with my parents. And my parents are not abusive to them, but they don't have exposure to them very much.
That's interesting. That's a very interesting thing. So you mentioned, you want to stay young at 61. So what does your life look like at 61, and where are you heading from here?
Oh my gosh. I just have so many goals. Really my main goal is this work that I do, because it's not necessarily a gift. As I said earlier, I think it is really some kind of, it is a gift that's been given to me, and I don't take a whole lot of responsibility for it. I'm not egotistical at all about the abilities that I have, because I'm not so sure they're all coming from me. But anyway, where was I going with that?
What your life is like at 60.
Yeah, what my life, well, I'm talking in circles, what my life is like in 61. So I want to continue to do this. I really want to bring this out into the open. I want to bust this wide open. And what I find is that pretty much one out of every 5 people I talk to have either experienced this and didn't realize it, or know someone who has, who doesn't realize it. So this is affecting a lot of people, and I'm changing lives, and I'm able to help people where they would normally be in therapy for years and years and years and not get anywhere. For me, those who commit to it for 6 months are perfectly fine. They're healed after 6 months. So I have an ability to do this. So I want to help as many people as I possibly can. And I want to spread the word like I'm doing with you today, Gayle. I want to, whatever it takes for me to do, whether it's going all over the world, speaking, whatever it takes.
So have you approached any of the major networks or any of the morning shows on these networks?
I have not. And the reason I have not is because I am not licensed as a therapist. And there is this huge stigma that if you're not licensed, you cannot be an authority on a mental health topic. But I explained to you earlier why actually it helps me that I'm not licensed, because it allows me to identify this without going through all the rigmarole that a licensed therapist would have to. But when I was trying to publish my book, Close Encounters, I had my agent was shopping this book, and everybody loved the book. And once they found out I was not licensed, they would not take it. They would not publish the book. So there is a stigma among most people that if you don't have a title after your name, that you cannot call yourself an expert or an authority on a mental health topic. So that has held me back in those ways.
But there is a way to position it. I do a lot of television, and I just wrote an online course called Get on TV, which shows people how to do that. But there are ways that you can position yourself. There are plenty of people who are interviewed on television who don't have, let's say, quote, credentials, but they've got life experience. You see it all the time, people who have gone through all kinds of things and they've come out the other side. And you can certainly do a personal interest type of story that could be done. So there's a way to approach it. You just need to get the right angle and then get to the right people. But it can be done, Randi. So don't get discouraged, because that's what I teach. I teach people how to do that. So don't get discouraged. There is a way to make that happen.
Okay, well, maybe I'll let you teach me how to do this. I need somebody to help me.
So let me ask you. So what was the first job you worked at? In other words, I mean, you came out of this background, but you also have this entrepreneurial bent. So what was like the first job you did that got you started on whatever it was that got you started?
So when my daughter and my son are 6.5 years apart. So my daughter left first. And then when my son was getting ready to leave, I thought to myself, I need a life, because I had been a stay-at-home mom most of his entire life. I had some part-time jobs. I did gift baskets and stuff like that. So I worked in other things because I love to do crafty things. But I thought, I really need something for me now. And so I started the jewelry business, and I started designing a whole line of jewelry, and I created this business on Etsy. And so I started there, and then it's sort of just kind of one thing led into another. Then I had been telling my story to people. And one day my hairdresser said to me, Randi, you should write a book. And I said, I do not know how to write. I've never been a writer. I hated English in school, and I don't know how I would do that. And then one day, ding, I got this message in my head that said, write this book. So I wrote a book. And when you write a book, your book doesn't do well unless you are out there.
No, you got to market it. That's absolutely
Marketing.
right.
So
Absolutely.
I had to create a presence, because I learned that people don't buy a book, they buy the author. So then I began to create a presence of who I was. And then this narcissistic abuse topic kept nagging at me. And it was like, you know what? This is what I should be doing. So I started doing that. My husband was doing other things. And he would say to me, because I would work from 8 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon, I would sit and work and work and work at my desk and write and all this kind of stuff. And he'd say, "You're wasting your time. What are you doing all this for? You're not making any money. What are you doing all this for?" And I said, I'm going to be something. I'm telling you, I'm going to be something. And he would just shake his head. And so I worked against a lot of negativity. But I knew somehow that I was destined to do something, and I didn't really know exactly how that was going to build. And then he lost his job, and we decided to buy a business, and we went into business together. So I took on this third thing. And then a friend of mine said, "Have you ever done radio?" And I said, "No, I don't like the sound of my voice." And he said, "I think you'd be very good at it. Try it." So I started doing the radio show. And then, of course, the books came after that. A psychic said to me, "Randi, you have another book in you." I said, "I don't even know what it would be." And then lo and behold, there was Close Encounters that was born. So for me, it wasn't as if I pursued entrepreneurship. It just found me. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. Okay, you're coming my
But you
way.
didn't really start it till you were, more upward in age, correct?
Absolutely. I really didn't.
Which is something that, I want our listeners to pay attention to, because you think once you turn 50, I know so many of you said to me, "Oh, I feel so invisible and I don't have a purpose anymore, and there's no reason for me to do anything because nobody's going to listen." And here you're talking to somebody who really didn't get started until she was much more mature than the average person starting at 21. And look what she's done. She's got a radio show. She's got 2 books published. She's got this narcissistic abuse movement. So it's amazing that, and that's what we're doing these shows for, to show you that there are so many opportunities for you that you shouldn't think, "Oh my gosh, it's too late." So, that's a very important point, I think, Randi. So how, when you were alone, you were raising these kids alone, correct?
No, just my daughter for just a
Oh,
few
okay.
years. Yes,
Okay.
we met my husband when she was about 3 years old. No, I married my husband when she was about 3 years old, and we've been together almost 32 years.
Fantastic.
And then we had a son together, but my daughter has always been his because she was a baby, basically. He's the only father. My first husband was a heroin addict, and it was a very, very. I talk about this story in my book Cliffedge Road, because it was a really hugely pivotal moment in my life. It was a lot of love and a lot of pain, and it propelled me into the person I am today. So, but as you're saying, I completely agree with you. And, I was telling you that so many people don't wake up to this abuse until they're older. And they always say to me, "Randi, I've wasted so many years. Here I am, 40, 50. Sometimes they even say 30. And I'm like, "Oh, you're a baby." 30, 40, 50. And they're like, "I've wasted all these years." And I said, "No, no, no, no. No, you're just getting started." And I tell them, this for me is the time of my life. I know who I am. I like who I am. I'm confident. Um,
I say the same thing. I mean, I say that women, I was lucky. I started when I was in business when I was 21. And so I've been in business for 60 years. Yeah. But on the other hand, in fact, more now, because I just had a birthday and I turned 82. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm still going strong. But the thing is that, people who reach the age of 50 have so much life experience and so much knowledge and so many skills that they don't look at. And I always say, go to your best friends or go to 4 or 5 friends and ask them what's unique about you, because you don't know what's unique about you, but they do. And so, the things that I think are just normal for me, a lot of people say, oh no, they're not. And it's funny because people say, oh, I just want to follow you around for a day, or I want to be in your suitcase. And I say, no, 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 you don't, because you'd be exhausted. But, it's true. I have a tremendous amount of energy. So let me ask you something. We have 5 minutes left, Randi.
Okay.
Let's tell people how to get a hold of you. I know that you're willing to give people a free 30-minute consultation, and they can talk to you about their particular situations. Where can they find you, and what have we not talked about that you would like to?
Okay. So my website is randifine.com. Randi
And
is
that's Randi, folks, not Y.
Yes, randifine.com. There's so many articles that you can read that can open your eyes about this. And I'll give you my email address, and it is loveyourlife@randifine.com. So if you've listened to this show, just put in the subject line, Gayle Carson Show, and put in, say that you want a free consultation with me, give me your phone number, and I will call you to arrange it. And the messages, we've covered so many of these messages, but I really do want to affirm that you're never too old to heal. And we don't have to be a prisoner of our past ever, 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 because we may see it as a life sentence, but it was not. It was a life lesson, and we learn and we grow and we build from these things. So it is never too late to heal your life and have a wonderful future.
That is so true. I mean, I'm always reinventing myself. And in fact, when I speak now, my speaking subject is reinventing ageism, because, it's growing older on purpose, and that's what you have to do. So those of you listening, I mean, this is your opportunity to really, find out if you feel. And I know there are those of you out there who you've not termed it narcissism, but you have talked to me, and I know that you have been in a narcissistic, abused relationship. So if that is you, then be in touch with Randi. Her email is loveyourlife@Randi, Randi, fine.com, because that's a real important thing for you to do. It's never too late to be healed or to learn new techniques or figure out, where you're going and what you want to do. What else would you like for them to know, Randi?
I'd like them to know that it doesn't matter how broken they feel or how many problematic relationships they've had in the future, because a lot of times people fear life because they don't have the tools for living, and they fear that they're going to be taken advantage of again and again and again. I will give you the tools that you will need so you can walk through life fearlessly. And it's not that hard to do. And I tell all my clients, I don't want you to do any work. What I do with you is so subtle and natural because you've done enough work. You've tried and tried and tried. I don't want you to do any work. I want to make this easy for you. And I know how to do that to help you through this.
It's so valuable, and I hope, folks, you're going to take advantage of this, because it's such a valuable thing that Randi is offering. And I think if you're talking to her, maybe you're not going to hire her, or maybe you're not going to, I don't know, use any of her materials, but I think you're going to gain clarity about your situation. And that's very important, to have clarity about, what you might be able to do and where you can learn and what you can do. These are very valuable things that are not talked about in everyday conversation. And it's something I think that would be very valuable for you to take advantage of. And where can they find your books, Randi? Are they on your website, or where can they find them?
So if you go on my website, you can click on every show I've ever done. My books are on there, but they'll take you directly to Amazon. So I'm on Amazon and Barnes & Noble online, and they're both paperback and ebook versions. Very easy to purchase.
Fantastic. That sounds great. That's wonderful. Well, folks, I hope you really enjoyed the conversation with Randy today. I hope it was an eye opener for you. I hope that it was something that, you said, wow, I never thought about that. Or I know somebody who is in this relationship and could really benefit from going to Randy's site. So hopefully we've provided a service for you here today. And Randy, I want to thank you so much for being with us and opening up to what you do and how you do it and your own personal situation. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you, Gayle. I have had a great time. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.